As Prince Aurelius walks up to the door, however, I start spotting the telltale signs of a particular kind of shop. On instinct, I freeze. The windows are covered in curtains, too expensive for most regular burgers. A bronze knocker hangs on the door as well, but it's unnecessary unless, of course, you're expecting guests at all hours. Most damning of all, however, are a heart and downward-pointing arrow carved unobtrusively on the door. Ancient symbols indeed. The prince glances at me with a grin, then beckons me closer. I force my legs to move, hoping against hope that I'm mistaken. Then Prince Aurelius raps on the door. A few moments later, a viewing port slides open. The light that shines through is tinted red, and the light that shines through is tinted red, and the smell of incense tickles my nose. The doorkeeper looks at us for a second, and then the small window closes. The door opens. Once it closes behind us, the doorman scurries off somewhere. It takes my eyes a moment to adjust to the dim lighting. There are divans all around. On nearby tables, exotic hookahs bubble with forbidden extracts. Every lamp is covered in red paper, making even the naked marble statues look pink. I turn to the prince, my eyes bulging out of my skull. "Why are we in a brothel?" He chuckles, clearly enjoying how my cheeks slowly come to match the red decor. "You insisted on following me." I want to protest, but he's right, so I just sputter. From the haze, a group of courtesans approach us, smiling and half-clothed. I avert my eyes and freeze, despite desperately wanting to run away. "My lord, please allow us to relieve you of your cloak." "Tonight we are at your service." Prince Aurelius ignores them, shrugging off their advances like one might a fly. I mumble excuses and try not to look anywhere inappropriate. A tall, statuesque woman surrounded by a bevy of others emerges from behind a heavy satin curtain. The prince immediately tenses up. In a single smooth motion, he puts an arm around me, far too low on my body to be appropriate, and pulls me closer. But I don't dare step away. His arm around my waist feels too intimate and only reminds me of what we did on the streets not too long ago. But then I stiffen. This must be another ruse. "My lady, good master, welcome to my establishment." The madam is a beautiful woman despite her age. Her makeup hides much, but it cannot hide the cold, calculating life experience in her eyes. "Madam, we will not be needing any of your other services tonight." He looks pointedly at the nearby prostitutes and pulls me in closer. I try to relax as best I can, wondering what Aurelius could possibly be playing at. "All we need is a room. A private room for my companion and I to share." I realize that this is the point where I should smile. The madam's fake one seems much more convincing than mine. "For a discerning guest such as yourself, we offer only the best." She waves away the flocking courtesans, except for one, who she grabs by the shirt and barks a quick command to. The young man walks up to the prince, then bows. "Please follow this young man, my lord. He will show you a selection of our best rooms. You may freely pick between them." "Very well." He picks a purse from his belt and tosses it to me. I catch it, eyes wide. It's heavy with gold. "My companion will handle the payment." And with that, I find myself face to face with the madam, whose attention followed the purse like a hawk as it shifted hands. Now she forces her eyes upwards to meet mine. "Lady Rosencruz, and Prince Aurelius too. How delightful." She practically lips her lips, tasting the names. I go pale. She recognizes not just him, but me as well, and if word of this gets out. "We provide two kinds of service here, Lady Rosencruz. One is of a carnal nature." A wide grin slithers across her face. "And the other is discretion. Surely you understand." I nod stiffly. The purse is heavy in my hand. I suppose Prince Aurelius must have expected something like this. "We only need to offer one of them tonight, since you will be providing the other." Her smile never cracks. I blush furiously. 600 coins. So a small fortune, then. In fact, I'm not even sure the prince gave me enough. But if someone here talked, the nobles at court would have a field day. Well, I have to. I open the purse and count the money, then add my own when I find the sum lacking. When the last coin hits the table, 2 purses are empty. "Very good." She smiles ingratiatingly. I can't say that word, my bad. And the coins disappear. I can assure complete confidentiality. I'm very strict about that. The madam glances at one of her employees, who visibly blanches. Then she turns back to me and smiles like a fox at a hare. "Please come, the room is ready." She claps her hands together, suddenly turning brisk and businesslike. The madam leads me through the brothel's smoky interior, up a set of stairs in the back and down a corridor with doors on both sides. Standing in front of one of the rooms is the man from before. When he sees madam, he bows. "Your prince awaits." She She bows instead of curtsying, her face once more a perfect courtier's mask. I hope you both have a pleasurable evening, Lady Rosencruz. A tomato? Why did I say tomato? What the fuck? A tomato red blush spreads across my face so quickly I flee into the room, shutting the door behind me as a respite, albeit a brief one. Then I take in the room and see that it is absolutely luxurious. The centerpiece is, of course, a massive double bed covered by red satin sheets. I try to ignore it. The windows are covered by heavy curtains, and I soon find the Prince Aurelius standing with his back towards me, facing it. Your Highness, what are you... Why did you come here? To no one's surprise, the prince stays silent, but I've come to recognize his stances. I don't even need to see his face to know he's wearing a smirk. Just then, I spot movement in the curtains. A gasp escapes my lips, and I nearly conjure up a weapon. But the prince's calm demeanor tells me he was expecting the young man that emerges. I apologize to have kept you waiting. I ran into some trouble. He glances over his shoulder at me, and I frown in response. What? Was I the trouble? A mischievous glint lights up the prince's eyes for a moment, then he turns back to the man. I don't like Aurelius anymore, he's not blushing enough for me. Your Highness. He pulls back his hood, but it isn't anyone I recognize. He has the unremarkable features of someone who might be from anywhere and could be anyone. In fact, if I saw him on the street tomorrow, I might not even be able to recognize him. A spy? I have what you requested. Prince Aurelius nods and the man produces a simple scroll from somewhere in his robes. The prince then takes it, opens it, and reads it. The spy in the meantime looks at me. I can tell he knows who I am, but he seems entirely unsurprised, not to mention unbothered by my presence, which I guess must mean he's used to Prince Aurelius's ways as I am. So it's true. He mumbles, then rolls up the scroll again and carefully holds it above a nearby candle. Then the prince watches it burn until it curls into a blackened stump. For good measure, he even scatters the ashes. Only after this is done, he returns to the man, taking a message of his own from his cloak. Take this message back to your master. The man bows his head and takes the scroll, which seems to disappear the second he lays hands on it. Once more, he gives a courteous bow, then turns to the window. Outside is a small balcony, which overlooks a much nicer courtyard than the entrance might have suggested. The spy leaves, silently climbing down and away. Prince Aurelius closes the window behind him. And so we are alone, provided no more spies hide in the curtains, that is. What are you doing, Kin? The curiosity is killing me, of course, but I can tell this isn't something I should ask about. Prince Aurelius is staring at me, and once again I can see a mischievous spark in his eyes. So, at what time do people usually leave the brothel? Dawn? Before dawn? I stare at him, hardly believing my ears. How could I possibly know that? He shrugs nonchalantly. Should I kick him? Lucky for you that you're a prince. During our earlier ruse, you were so eager that I thought. He trails off and shoots me a meaningful look. I blush, equal parts from indignation and from remembering the event. How dare he? As if a single act of passion would somehow make me a degenerate. I resent the implication, Your Highness. Every ounce of righteous fury I possess goes into that one simple statement. Besides, seeing how easy you entered this place, I'd have thought you were the expert. I lift my head high and Prince Aurelius looks at me for a moment. Then he bursts out laughing. Where the hell is that cat? Hello. Gods, Rosencruz, I was joking. My carefully built composure and anger crumble. In the end, I am left looking like a fool, as usual. I glower at him darkly, then go sit on the bed with my back to him, mainly to hide my persistent blush. Aurelius goes quiet for a moment. The bed shifts as he sits on it, then there's another as he lays down. We wait until dawn. That would be safest. Silence stretches between us. Prince Aurelius takes the bed, so I find myself a chair in the corner to sit on. The crackling fire is the only sound in the room. I let my mind drift and stare into space for a few minutes. When I look over at the prince, he's fast asleep. It's hard to imagine that someone like him would trust anyone enough to actually sleep in a place like this. They say children are at their most beautiful when they're asleep, and I think the same can be said of adults. This noise. The prince lays there, his breathing even and his face perfectly still. Despite that, it also paints a picture of innocence, one that stands in stark contrast to the cold first impression I had of him. Suppressing the urge to brush away a strand of hair, I force myself to look away. I wonder what tonight was about. When ribbons of sunlight touch the curtains, I wake Prince Aurelius. It seems he slept well because a few minutes after opening his eyes, he's ready to leave. When he notices the dark circles under my eyes, he speaks. There was ample space on the bed for you. I decide to ignore it. We sneak out of the brothel together, creeping past sleeping courtesans and passed out clients onto the silent street. Several streets away, we wordlessly split up. But before we disappear down separate paths, the prince stops. I give him a glance, wondering what else he might possibly have to say. Sun caresses on his cheeks, and his eyes are glinting in a way that I can't quite understand. Gentle shudders creep up my neck, and my cheeks heat up when I realize its fondness. As the silent moment passes, I try not to read into things too much. I could simply leave, but I'm rooted in place by the prince's gaze. Okay, this cat's being annoying. 1 second. It doesn't usually go out at this time, so that's confusing. He finally speaks. I think it would be best if we saw last night for what it was. A moment of pleasure, nothing more. Starting today, let's keep our distance. His voice is so uncharacteristically gentle, it reminds me of the intimate moment we shared last night. Unfortunately, it takes me a moment to register his words as a rejection. I blink, confused, but before I have time to answer, Aurelius turns and leaves. Keep our distance? I stare wordlessly at the prince's back as he goes, more confused than ever. In a way, it feels like last night was only a fleeting dream. I don't care about the old missions. There's still a lot there. Alright, what the fuck do I have to do now? I don't have a lot of money. I need to do this one. The noodly one. Which I have enough money for, yeah. But alas, I do not have the money for this yet. I will, though, in the next week. What should we do? Well, I think we've done enough of this for now. So I will do a mission. This one. It's intelligence, so that's fine. Poor Ishbel had burnt her hands while trying to cook for her father. The burns were not so bad as to leave scars, but they would have benefited from expedited healing. Since the country was not at war, the palace was lacking in powerful plant-based medical supplies, as they would inevitably spoil before being put to use. Knowing this, Nazir decided to acquire the plant himself, but asked me to assist as he had little knowledge of botany. Confident that I could properly identify the plants we needed, Nazir and I set off for Spellor, which was lesser known for its magic-steeped forests. The midday sun split into the trees, lighting even the darkest places. Everything looked as if it were glowing. It was, by all definitions, ethereal. At one point, so taken were we by the beauty of nature and magic, we simply fell silent, taking it all in. Even Nazir, especially Nazir. I quickly identified the plants we needed as a burn heal, though we stayed for a bit longer. I found a few wild fruits that I knew enhanced one's magical capabilities and gave them to Nazir while he searched for flowers to give to Ishbel and me. In the end, I was glad that I had devoted time to studying plants and poisons, as we brought back everything pretty and not immediately poisonous. Ishbel's hands were healed and we gave her the flowers. She gave us a smile to rival Spellor's brilliant sun. New missions are available. Here you go. Okay, servants are scrubbing, lathering and rinsing the corridor between my study and the library. So of course I find myself stuck on an island between the wet areas. No one will complain if I push onward, but I cannot bring myself to do so, not that I particularly mind. The past few weeks have been hectic to say the least. I haven't had any time to stop and think. My mind turns to that night at the brothel with Prince Aurelius. Or more specifically, to the moment before the brothel, when he asked me to kiss him. For some reason, I just can't seem to get it out of my head. I sigh and shake my head to clear of the thought. There are other, more pressing things to wonder about. Who was the Moranian we met? What was their exchange about? I had hoped for the prince to explain himself, but he's clearly been avoiding me. He never speaks to me outside of class, nor does he show up at Harris's weekly lessons to force me into duels as he did before. It's beginning to feel as if he doesn't want to associate with me at all. But why? What have I done to offend or upset him? As if summoned by my thoughts, Prince Aurelius rounds the corner, with Harris trailing behind him as always. The servants stop their cleaning and bow as the prince passes by, leaving a clear line of footprints on the wet floor. Your Highness? I bow and catch the quickest flash of his purple eyes as he gives me a nod of acknowledgement. The two men stride down the corridor, and I cannot help but feel hurt. He didn't even consider stopping. The servants resume their tasks and start sweeping the floor behind him, trapping me for even longer. I consider calling out to them, if only to ask how the prince is doing, but then something strikes me. What if Aurelius is keeping his distance because doing anything else would give rise to suspicion? That evening in the brothel was inappropriate, to say the least, and the madame knew who we were. If a rumor were to spread, it would be disastrous for both of us. With a small sigh, I let them go, watching as the servants clean up their footprints, leaving no trace that they ever passed by. I prepare myself for another, much longer wait. Somehow, this feels much worse than my first few weeks in Eskia. Back then, the prince rejected my presence rudely but openly. Now, though, the distance between us seems immense, as if I'll never close it. You bitch. You hoe, how could you? Right, we're at week 40, which means we're at week 41 next, which means we also don't need to do anything. Wait. We need to do the marbles. And there we go. We have everything ready. Okay, what are we doing? A Nazir quest. Also a Nazir quest. Also a Nazir quest. Saren quest. Don't know. I feel like I want to do the... Not that one. Not that one. Okay, so I guess that one has gone. We can't do the cat one anymore. Alright, what are my stats? Etiquette. I don't know what I need. What do I need? Combat. Let's do it. Crap. Just look at his mother and you would know. I click my tongue in annoyance. Although tired out from today's lectures, my senses are still sharp enough to pick up the voices of the nobles gossiping, without a doubt, about Prince Aurelius again. I really have better things to do than listening to them every single time. Just because she never shows herself, she thinks we are stupid enough to believe she isn't seeking power. True, she even tried to assassinate the late queen, didn't she? The statement freezes me mid-motion and I hold my breath. She did what? Sensing I'm about to discover a secret that would explain everything, I quickly feel my resolve to stay out of this crumble rapidly. But a sardonic voice stops the nobles from speaking any further. My apologies, gentlemen. Harris's tall frame appears behind the men from God knows where. They all turn to him in a mix of surprise and annoyance. You, how long have you been? I'm more than distressed to interrupt your undoubtedly important conversation. However, the servants are keen on fulfilling their tasks, which would be to clean the corridors of any dust, trash, and other unsightly things. He gives the nobles a pointed look. I can't help but suppress a smile, but if the others understood Harris's implications, they do nothing. So, would you gentlemen please be so good to vacate so they may get to their work? A moment of silence reigns, with nobody budging, and I worry for a fight to break out. Not that I am doubting Harris's abilities, but in a battle of ranks he undoubtedly will lose. Luckily, my fears don't come true. Ah, Harris, always so diligent. Of course, we're busy too, so let's hold this conversation another time, friends. With those words, the nobles scurry away. Harris stands alone in the corridors, a furrow between his brows. I haven't seen him so visibly displeased in a while. But before I can decide whether to show myself and approach him, Harris too is gone. Feeling too awkward to chase after him, I decide to return to my room, my mind churning from the incident. Well, that was a quick one. Alright, I have enough etiquette to pass this. In week 39, if we didn't pay... Well, I could have gotten away with not paying if I had enough leadership. God damn it. What is my combat? Okay, that's cool. Although... we don't actually need the leadership because we paid, so that's fine. I think we're good, so let's just do this. Oh poo. Oh god. Okay, that's okay. That's fine. The historical reference books lay forgotten in front of me for half an hour. Even with my best attempt to focus, I cannot forget the words uttered last week during the nobles' gossip. I neither had the means nor the chance to dig further into it. Especially with my status, I can't appear too nosy about the prince's private affairs. That doesn't mean I'm not curious. I don't like the feeling of not knowing all the facts, and I'm tired of hearing gossip all over the place without understanding where they come from. And perhaps he doesn't want me to and doesn't need it. I still worry about Aurelius. I sigh and snap to attention when I feel Harris's sharp gaze on me. Is something the matter? He merely raises one brow before gesturing to the book in my hands. You've had the same page open for a while. I'm just taking my time digesting the information. Harris raises the other brow. It's the same page since we started almost an hour ago. Smooth, Valkii, smooth. I heave a defeated sigh. To be honest, some things are bothering me lately. It's just... there have been rumors all over the palace during the last weeks. I couldn't say that I overheard him and the nobleman recently. I don't think Harris would have appreciated that, but he catches on either way. The rumors about Prince Aurelius's affairs with Lady Gabrielle and the ones about his mother. To be precise, also the rumors about Prince Aurelius's affairs with both Lady Gabrielle and me. Harris raises his brows once more and I see the glint of amusement in his eyes. Oh, a love triangle then. That's news to me. Mere nonsense. But I have been bothered about why there are so many gossips flying around about the prince. Harris gazes away, seeming to be lost in thought. About the prince's mother, it's nothing I can tell you in good confidence. That decision should come from His Highness, if anyone. All I can say is that due to circumstances, there have always been a lot of rumors going on about how Prince Aurelius may be aiming to become the next king. Even by using unsavory means against his family. That's simply gossips of the court. His Highness may be rough and very hard to understand, but one thing I have learned in the years of following him is he never means to harm others. Of course. Despite still not knowing why he was meeting up with the Moranian spy, it never crossed my mind that Aurelius might be doing something terrible. Suspicious, perhaps, but nothing that would cause harm to Eschio or his family. In any case, those rumors are part of the reason why His Highness's mother lives in seclusion. I can only imagine the gossips being worse if she didn't make that decision, still. It must have been hard, growing up without a mother. My sympathetic statement seems to catch Harris off guard and he blanches. I pause, confused at the blatant vulnerability in his gaze, as if I have touched upon a more personal subject than I should have, because the king killed his parents. Harris continues before I can make sense of it. Quite so. His father. He spat the word more forceful than necessary, as if not acknowledging the late king that position. He was always more concerned about the affairs of the realm than about his sons. Prince Aurelius had always been a smart and independent child. He played the games of chess with the Lord Regent occasionally and had sword practice with his brothers, but which child doesn't long for affection from his parents? I nod, unsure what to say. This is the very first time I have heard someone say anything bad about the late king. Despite being able to understand what he means to say, I grew up in a normal family, well, as normal as the oath allows us Rosencrews to be. My words wouldn't have any weight in this matter. After a while, Harris heaves a grudging sigh and straightens his pose. My apologies, Lady Rosencrews. I overstepped my bounds just now. No worries, Harris. My lips are sealed. He gives me an approving nod before pointing at the forgotten reference book. In any case, I'm doing my best trying to find out why the rumors have been getting worse recently. Until things are resolved, I advise you keep yourself out of it. I nod again. That's perhaps the same thing Aurelius means to say by avoiding me. With no other words being spoken, I return to my book, not one bit more focused than before. Yikers. Anything new and interesting? Not really. Alright, I need to take a little gander at this. Which is to say that I needed that intelligence boost. I should make the 125 combat I may need, but that's all there is to worry about for a while. Is there anything I need to do here? No. Fair enough. I know I need this at some point, but I'm not gonna make it yet because I just don't have a lot of money. Let's just go. 5, 3, 2. Oh, good. So this is the same. That's interesting. And this time I'm not going to say either way unless it gives me affection with Aurelius, actually. Wait, what are we at? We're at basically full affection with Aurelius already. I heard that some people were having trouble with him, but I guess they didn't have the guide. Nazir likes us more than Seren? I'm sad. Okay, whatever, knowledge brings people together. Alright, I will say it isn't my place to decide. As a member of the High Council, it isn't my place to comment on Eskian politics. What a diplomatic response. I'd say it's more evasive, but it's clever nonetheless. The women seemed disappointed but unsurprised. I didn't tell them anything they didn't already know. Lady Ishbel, however, seems thoughtful. The conversation continues, blah blah blah. You're close to Prince Aurelius, aren't you? I nod, despite being taken aback by her blunt question. I meant what I said. The one who can guarantee our kingdom's safety should lead it. She looks down at her hands as if struggling to find the right words. We're a small fief on the border. If Marin attacks, our people will be the first to suffer. Ishbel, Prince Seren is the legitimate heir and Prince Aurelius is loyal to him. But he would be a strong leader, everyone knows it, and the only people who don't agree. Ishbel sighs and shakes her head. Are those who would prefer a weak Eskia, whatever their reasons may be. To be honest, I'm a little taken aback by her sudden political acumen. Then again, I suppose she is the heir to a fief, and is therefore obligated to learn quickly. She isn't exactly wrong either. However, the line of succession has been decided. Before I can respond, Lady Ishbel changes the topic. Bye. The corridors are all but empty as the afternoon draws to a close and night approaches. I still have work to do, and I'm heading toward the study when I hear familiar voices echo from an equally familiar alcove. Rumors are all true. Those nobles again. Without a moment's hesitation, I head for my usual spot. As always, the men are loud and pay no attention to anything around them. Rumors are rumors for a reason. But these rumors are facts, everyone agrees. Did I agree? Am I agreeing? If Aurelius has been recruiting soldiers this whole time, where are they? If I told you that the Moranians have started recruiting soldiers in response, would you believe me then? It's true, I heard the Lord Regent himself talking about it. But what for? What for, you naive old thing? What else could it be but to help Prince Aurelius seize the throne? Can't you see that his efforts to court Lady Gabrielle all this time are finally bearing fruits? Exactly, he's even got the Moranians on his side now. Lady Gabrielle may be young, but her influence on the Marin's court of 5 isn't to be underestimated, let me tell you. My heart freezes. So they still think that Prince Aurelius is preparing some kind of coup. How many in the palace think like that? Let me just bring up the little thing here. Right. It is true that the prince has been spending a lot more time in that fief of his. Exactly, they say he's training them himself. Imagine that, the prince in the mud rolling around with soldiers, haha. Seems like it's just you who likes imagining that. What is that supposed to mean? Just that you were too specific, the prince covered in mud? With all those burly soldiers, shirts off, sweating and training, the nobles laugh raucously. I feel my patience rapidly dwindle, despite promising myself I wouldn't let these boorish men get to me again. Shut your mouths, I meant to say that it's unbecoming for a prince to personally train his soldiers. Prince Seren would never stoop so low. That's what the Lord Marshal is for. I'm sure Prince Seren's personal guard will be just thrilled at the training they've received when they bump into one of Aurelius's men on the battlefield. They say any man trained by Aurelius is equal to 3 regular soldiers. I can believe it. Did you hear about all the times he's knocked the sword out of that incessantly nosy Rosencrew's hand? In the gardens, you mean? Oh yes, I've heard the gardeners complain about the lawn getting trampled. I thought the royal tutor was here to teach the princes, you know, magic or whatever. Not to roll around in the mud with one of them? I assure you there is no mud in that garden. The gardeners keep the grass in excellent shape. The nobles, somehow caught by surprise again, all start huffing, puffing, and preparing themselves to leave. So rude, butting in on conversations that have nothing to do with you. Boy, you were literally just talking about me. Fuck you. Actually, so loud too. You really should be more quiet, you know. The library is right there. And lazy, worst of all, going around listening to conversations. We all have better things to do. I watch the nobles leave, worried, annoyed, exasperated, and helpless. No matter how little the gossip itself bothers me, coming across this exact scene every other week is simply too much. Why has nobody done anything about this? The rumors have been running rampant to the extent that it wouldn't surprise me if a real coup d'etat were to happen. I have endured more than enough. Even if he might just grumpily tell me off for being nosy, I need to talk to Aurelius. The only question is, how do I get to him? How am I supposed to talk with the prince when he barely acknowledges my presence anymore? I can't believe I would one day miss the Aurelius who forces me into sword fights for no reason on one of his whims. Tired and frustrated, I make my way back to my study. Knock, knock. A knock on the door distracts me from my dark thoughts. Okay. Master Rosencreuz. I wish they stopped calling me Master. I don't think that's what they mean. I have new reports from the provinces. Of course, Raphael. Please come in. It is time for our usual summary of the week's expeditions into the provinces. In other words, a recap of great successes and catastrophic failures. The report is usually quite interesting, so I try to focus on this one as best as I can. I stare at the words while Raphael reads the most important points aloud, but my mind keeps wandering. Perhaps you would like some tea instead? I look up from my desk and realize he must have been quiet for some time. Blushing, I nod. My apologies, Raphael. Tea would be lovely. One moment. He leaves and returns a few moments later with a tray. I gratefully accept the cup of tea. The vapors already helped clear my mind. It may not be my place to ask, but how are you, Lady Rosencreuz? Raphael looks at me with genuine concern, but it's not genuine concern because he's a traitor. That and the warmth from the tea are more than enough for me to lower my guard. Alright, since we have, it's just completely full. What does this say? Nothing. Prince Aurelius has been avoiding me for a while. It is the first thing on my mind. Ever since the brothel visit, he's actively avoided being seen with me. All I want is to help him in any way I can. I still don't understand what's going on, but whatever it is, I don't want him to worry about it alone. Raphael looks at me and raises a brow. I stare back until he tilts his head slightly to the side as if asking, did I hear that right? Only then does it dawn on me how a statement like that might sound. No, not like that, not romantically. Of course. I blushed. Thankfully, Raphael chooses to be professional and ignores it. I just meant that he has been staying away from me recently and I thought we were becoming friends. I mumbled the last part and glanced down at the table. What a stupid thing to think, really. Who was ever friends with Prince Aurelius? But in my heart of hearts, I still remember the kiss as if it happened yesterday. Who could ever hope to be something more? Not, of course, that it bothers me. Of course not. I just would like to speak with him, that's all. I sipped my tea, happy to have Raphael to talk to. Before now, I hadn't realized how much all of this had bothered me. He, in turn, seems to be deep in thought. I can tell because he's walking around my study, tidying here, picking up fallen books there, dusting off the top of shelves and adding logs to the fire. When he comes back to my desk, I can immediately tell that he has an idea. If you want the prince's attention for whatever reason, you need to do something grand, something that gets him curious and something he refuses to ignore. A small, tender smile crosses Raphael's lips. That is what Harris always says anyway. I look closely at Raphael. It takes me a moment to recall that the two of them are close friends. Often he comes and collects Harris after our lessons, or I spot the two of them walking together in the corridors. You two are on good terms, aren't you? Surprise momentarily lights up Raphael's face, but he quickly recovers. Yes, we are. We've been together since we were boys. I nod, then give a defeated chuckle. I spend a lot of time with him, but I can't understand him in the slightest. I suppose he is a bit like Prince Aurelius in that regard. Well, it's difficult to put into words. I give Raphael a quizzical look, but he doesn't offer up any more explanations. Still, I suppose it makes sense. Silence can communicate more than words, especially around Harris and Prince Aurelius. Raphael is more talkative, but I think with a smile, maybe that's only because he knows I'm not always the best at reading silences. Prince Aurelius does value words, that much I know. He simply doesn't value empty ones. So if I want to deliver a message to him, it has to be something with meaning. You must do something grand to get the prince's attention. Something grand. Grand. My eyes widen. Of course! That was how he originally got my attention after all. Raphael, could you deliver a message to Prince Aurelius for me? Certainly. Very good. I would like you to tell him these exact words, all right? It must be verbatim. Understood, Lady Rosencreuz. Lady Rosencreuz told me to send you her warmest regards and wonders if you would care to have tea with her in the gardens next week. See, the pronouns are off then. Any requested items? No. How much moolah do I have? Ooh, I can make these. Ah, they're so expensive though. What if I get requests? Whatever. Alright. What are we doing? We have a lot of intelligence. Alright, let me check what I'm missing. In fact, I'll just be back after the lesson. I'll see you in the next video.